France will send its ambassador back to the US after a phone call between Joe Biden and President Macron that seems to have mended some of the fences torn down by the AUKUS alliance. President Biden admitted that Washington was wrong in its approach to the talks between it and the UK and Australia. The US leader has agreed to include France in any future defence decisions regarding the Indo-Pacific. Macron and Biden have also agreed to meet in person together in October. The 5-day standoff followed France losing a multi-billion euro submarine contract with Australia. Max Bergman is a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress and a former advisor to the US State Department. He says there are several areas the US can work on with France to mend the relationship.
Well, I think one of Emmanuel Macron's major concerns and major interests is EU defense. And the US for the last 20 years has been very ambivalent, oftentimes very opposed to EU defense, viewing it as potentially competing with NATO. There's been some signs of shift within the Biden administration, but there's been reluctance. And I think now's the time where the US should sort of embrace this development of EU defense, that Macron is going to have a summit with the EU during the French presidency next year in the middle of an election campaign. He's going to need some wins. And really, you're not going to make any progress on EU defense unless the United States supports it, given our influence with other countries in NATO and in the EU, and the special relationships we have and the role we play in European security. So I think that's a core area. But I also think it's about demonstrating to France that it really values its opinion. Engaging it more frequently. I think a White House state visit is something that should be in the cards with Boris Johnson here and with Merkel having come this summer. So I think there's a number of steps the White House can take. And I think France now means more to the United States than at any time, perhaps since its role in unifying Germany in the early 1990s. And the reason why is because France plays a critical role within the European Union. It is the EU's strongest military power. It spends 2% of defense. It is an Indo-Pacific power. It has large force presence. Its military-industrial complex, even if it lost the sale to Australia, is embedded in India, especially with sales to India's Air Force. And France, with its role within the EU, can really determine whether the US and EU can make progress on all these sort of trade and technology issues to competition with China. And so if there's just hostility in the relationship, we're not going to make much progress in sort of getting the EU and US on the same page on all these really critical trade and technology issues. And so I think this is a relationship that may be the most important one the US has right now in continental Europe.